Hey folks, thanks for coming out. My name is Stuart West. I'm the Superintendent of Black Canyon of the Gunnison National Park and Kaminsky National Recreation Area. And I want to kind of take you back to Thursday. You guys probably remember that thunderstorm we had early in the mornings, like started at 4 or 5 in the morning, and it went across the park. It laid at least 3 lightning strikes, dry lightning strikes on the south rim and 1 on the north rim. And we have an agreement with the Bureau of Land Management. They do our firefighting for us, and they responded quickly to the fires, but they were too much to keep up with. So the last of the 3 fires is the one that took off, and very quickly it turned into a pretty big plume of smoke. And probably within 2 hours, we realized it's time to clear the park. So we got everyone who was camping there is still around the campground. We got those folks all cleared out. Anyone we saw in the park, we asked if they were camping, got rid of those folks, told them to leave. And then we had to find the people who were in the wilderness area. And we found those people and got everybody out, which is the really good news here. Just to let you know, with the acreage you heard, what does that mean for the park? So,
most of the south rim of the park is burned. Probably, I would say, somewhere in the vicinity of 85%, somewhere around there, of the south rim is burned. It'll look very different than when you saw it last time. The good news is the visitor center is intact. That's great news. There was, besides the visitor center, there was the administrative buildings and all the support buildings for maintenance and all that. The main administration building is also unscathed, but our maintenance facility is completely demolished, and we've lost that and plus all of our heavy equipment. We've canceled all campground reservations for the year, and we aren't going to take any more reservations for the rest of the year. And even after the fire is controlled, access to the inner canyon will be closed due to unstable rock. When the vegetation's burned and the rock gets hot, it becomes unstable and it's unpredictable. Also, a little spark of good news here is Kaminsky National Recreation Area was not impacted at all, which is great. So if you want to go see the park, see our sister park up a little further away around the Blue Mesa. So I just want to let you guys know that we're trying to hit this fire from every angle, from the ground, from the air, and using a variety of tactics. We're doing everything we can to protect the life, the resources, and the park values. I got to tell you though, recovery will be a slow process. But know that we're going to do everything we can to begin that process, and we already have, in fact. And our first step is going to be assessment of all of our losses. We realize that the Black Canyon is a valuable resource to this community and to the country, and that return to normal is in everyone's best interest, but it's going to take quite some time. We just let you know that we've moved our information about the fire from the park Facebook account to a new Facebook page specifically devoted to the fire. If you go to our website, you'll see the link to the new location. Right now, we're focused 100% on the fire. There'll be opportunities in the future to better articulate how you can support the park. But for now, just please respect the law enforcement and the firefighters who are trying to do their best to get this thing under control. Thank you. Next up, we have John Kaminsky. He's with the BLM. John.
Good evening, John Kaminsky. I'm the field office manager in Gunnison. That's my day job. I'm down here to support the fire for BLM. We are short-staffed through the district. As you might know, we've got multiple fires across the unit. The main roles of an agency administrator is to communicate the values at risk, in this case BLM, to the firefighting team, all the way down from the IC, all the way down to the firefighters. I also am here supporting Stuart. We do a lot of work cross-border between the Gunnison field office and the Kaminsky. So we like to support each other, many different projects. This is just one of many things we work together on. Our values at risk really now come down to habitat. We have maybe 400 to 500 acres involved at this time. Healthy habitats, provide forage for our livestock operators, provide forage and living space for Gunnison sage grouse, provide areas for people to recreate, our special recreation permit holders that guide hunting and fishing, and just our regular recreating public use these areas. Anyway, glad to see everybody here. Thanks for coming out, and I'll hand it over to the sheriff. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Gene Lillard, Sheriff of Montrose County. The light is very bright. First of all, I would like to say we're very blessed to live in the county that we live in. The support that we've got has been extremely overwhelming, but I'd like to make mention, too, with how great things have been going on with the incident management team, the National Park, Bureau of Land Management, DFPC, Montrose Fire, Olathe Fire, Telluride Fire, and whoever else has been up and around the monument too. So I can't say enough about that. It's been overwhelming for a lot of the law enforcement and our posse members, but we're making headway on keeping the houses safe from looters. I think they would not stand a chance if they happen to go up to try to loot some of the houses in Montrose County. So with that, that's about all I've got for the time being. So I'll be around for questions. And thank you for all being here. And once again, we live in a wonderful community. So thank you. We'd like to introduce our emergency manager, Scott Hawkins.
Thanks, Sheriff. Appreciate everyone. Get my pointer out. Hang on. Sorry about that. So first thing I want to kind of talk to about is the evac map. I know that thing has changed. This is the new map that we came out with when the new complex incident management team came in. Everybody saw the old one. It was done in kind of somewhat in a hurry. We needed to get something out there while we were doing kind of hurrying through evacuations. We sat down and we redrew the map for this area. We had an area in there on the old map that was kind of a sliver that wasn't there. And we wanted to fill that in. That's why this area of Zone 4 changed. Everything else pretty much stayed the same with the evacuation zones. And Zone 2, which comes from the kind of the west side of Highway 347 down to Highway 50, that is not under an evacuation warning at all. It's still just status quo as that. And then we added Zone 7. We all sit down together with the incident management team and they look at the models and everything, how this can possibly grow and expand. So we wanted to add Zone 7. We sure hope we don't ever have to use that, but Zone 7 is just there and just in case we need that. So right now, all those zones that you see there are still under evacuation orders. So we're asking everybody to stay out of those, and we've asked the residents to leave, and they've been very cooperative. And as the sheriff said, we're patrolling that with the deputies pretty much 24/7 just to make sure we watch those homes. With the Watch Duty app, I know a lot of people have that Watch Duty app and they're getting a lot of information off the Watch Duty app, but unfortunately the information inside that Watch Duty app is inaccurate. We're working with them. They're very easy to work with. They still have some of the old mapping inside if there's a link in there that shows the old map. So please disregard that information. We're working on them to get that fixed. And if you click on the Watch Duty app now, it shows that Zone 2 is under an evacuation order and Zone 7, and that is inaccurate. I think Zone 2 is okay, but Zone 7 is not under an evacuation order. People can still access their homes. We spoke with the sheriff today, and the sheriff has spoke with the incident management team. We're still allowing people to go in and check on their homes and everything to that nature. We understand that you guys, there's a lot, up there. So, but we just ask that you check in and have some credentials with you that proves that you're associated with that house, driver's license, ID, piece of mail or something and we'll have you check in at the security at the bottom there of 347 and Highway 50, go to your home and then check out when you leave so we know that you're no longer at your residence. Donations. This is a big thing. We get lots and lots of calls on donations and we have a very amazing community. We really appreciate that. Everybody that wants to stand up and help the firefighters and everything, we get overwhelmed with the calls, and we really appreciate that. It's just awesome. We live in a great community, and it's heartwarming, the people that want to help. Unfortunately, the firefighters and incident management team cannot accept donations. It's a policy that they have, and it's understandable. So there's avenues if you want to, help the community. One is with the impact, as Stuart said, to the community. It's a big impact to the community because the national park, it's about $35 million of revenue a year for the city and the county. It's a big thing, and that with that being closed, it's going to have a financial impact on business and everything. So if you want to help, for one, go shopping, patronize the local businesses, the restaurants, everything. That is a great way to show your support. There's other avenues that we can take for some donations, but we can't take food or water or anything to that nature. Reentry, when that time comes, hopefully that's sooner than later. We're going to have to do that. Everybody knows they call it the reverse 911 system. That's going to be our primary source. But if you have been evacuated and you're not signed up for the Montrose County Alert, please go on our websites. It's the Montrose County website or the Sheriff's Office website. They have a link to sign up for the Montrose County Alert system. So please go in there, put your name in there, because we don't know where people, where they relocated to when they were evacuated. So it's going to be very hard. We will also update our websites. And also inside the Montrose County Sheriff's Office website, upper right corner, there's a big red button. That button has an interactive link, and that you go in there and you'll type in your address, and it will tell you the status of where your exact of the evacuation order's been lifted or whatever, where the status of your home is inside that link. So please utilize that link, because we're going to also, we'll keep that up to date all the time. And that's all I have. Next.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Scott Stearns. I'm the incident meteorologist assigned to the fire, and you might be surprised to hear that there's a meteorologist assigned to the fire. So I work for the National Weather Service, so NOAA. I'm under the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, and when fires have enough significance to bring in an incident management team, they often bring in a meteorologist from NOAA and potentially other agencies as well that staff meteorologists. So just kind of a quick heads up. And, my job is to predict the weather, obviously, and then I work in tandem with a fire behavior analyst, and we try to do our best to determine what the fire is going to do in the future. That could be, today, tomorrow, but also a few days into the future. And I'll get to that in just a second. You can see up on the screen there's the what we call the weather matrix. Just kind of a quick heads up. But before we get there, so Stuart already mentioned, the weather situation that preceded this fire. We did see actually 7 cloud-to-ground lightning strikes were recorded within the perimeter of the Black Canyon of the Gunnison National Park, and the morning preceding when the fire was reported, when the fire was reported. I'll just leave it at that. So during that day, starting at about noon, if I'm not mistaken, and going through 8 p.m., there was a red flag warning in effect, and that was for the winds and low relative humidity that were over the area as well. So that was something that the National Weather Service office in Grand Junction issued, so they were largely on top of it in terms of the predicted activity for the day. The lightning in the morning hours that preceded it, followed by those low RHs and then elevated winds, is something that makes fire suppression fairly difficult, obviously. And so that's what those red flag warning products that probably almost everybody in here on the Western Slope is familiar with is meant to do. So I'm happy to answer any additional questions about that afterwards. But with that, I think I'll address the forecast. So if you look back up at the weather matrix, you can see generally the colors are green, yellow, and red, whereas green is conditions that are favorable for fire suppression, to be able to get a handle on things, so to speak. And the red conditions are things that are unfavorable. In other words, the kind of the high end, more, you might say extreme fire behavior, but fire behavior won't necessarily be extreme just because one of those things is red. Oftentimes it takes what we call alignment, so multiple factors to combine together at the same time, the same day, to be able to lead to really difficult fire control conditions, generally speaking. So the good news is you can see there's not a lot of red on there. A few days ago there was much more red on that matrix looking into the future the next few days, but we're kind of going into a little bit of a lull in the weather pattern in terms of the winds and the relative humidity. So the good news is that the daytime relative humidity is coming up, the nighttime relative humidity is coming up just a bit, and the temperatures will be coming down just a little bit over the next few days. We'll also see increase in cloud cover. So the bad news is, the flip side is, you can see lower on the graphic, there's more red, and that's for lightning activity. So we, unfortunately, with that moisture that's moving in, we are looking at pretty significant potential, I would say, for additional lightning activity across the western slope. The question, of course, at that point becomes, how much rain is there going to be, right? Well, the bad news is, you look below that lightning line, we're not anticipating a whole lot of rainfall accumulation with this thunderstorm shower activity that's going to move in associated with that moisture pushing in. So it's not necessarily great news, because we have additional potential for lightning activity, not a lot of potential for significant rainfall. Rainfall that a lot of the times we think about wetting rainfall, which is roughly 1/10 of an inch of precipitation. You look on there, we're only looking at maybe about 1/10 of an inch spread over multiple days, not in any one given day. So essentially kind of looking at this as something that's going to slow down fire activity across the area, which is great news. But on the other side of it, there is potential for additional ignitions with that lightning. As we get beyond that system this weekend and moving into early next week, we start to dry back out again. That's what the models are showing at this point. So be very aware of what's happening with that lightning activity and when we move into next week. No critical fire weather in terms of the wind or the RH like we saw on the day of the start of this fire. We're not going to see those high winds and extremely low RHs like we did see anytime in the near future. It doesn't appear, but unfortunately we do have the additional potential for lightning. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody, and thank everybody in front of me for helping see where I'm going to go here, I guess. Brandon Bones, Operations Section Chief with Rocky Mountain Team 3, and everyone in front of me so far has talked about values. Values, that's why we're here, the critical values. Values inform strategy, and then strategy in turn informs tactics. And so that's how we kind of attack a fire here. Looking at the values, we talked about the Crystal Dam and associated infrastructure. There's a lot of stuff in there. It feeds a lot of things. You have the power lines, the KP Road. Sorry, not the KP Road, but the South Portal Road, the power lines, infrastructure. You got the diversion dam, but all that downstream has a lot of effects. And then as we go into the KP and the Bostitz Road area, another big thing for structures in there. So again, strategy informs the tactics, and that's why we're here. And I want to put up there first, before we do anything, our number one objective on every fire is firefighter and public safety. That's the utmost importance. And so as our tactics are driving that, based on our strategies, that's how we figure out what we want to do for the fire. And so we took command, Rocky Mountain Team 3, on Monday morning, yesterday, 0600. We were in town on a shadow day, getting intel over the fire, and pretty much the evening of Sunday night, there was a red flag warning, which we just talked about, with strong adverse winds. And so those winds moved the fire pretty much over here along Division Alpha, Division Tango to the west. And so we were able to provide some overhead And then with the help of our partners, with the Montrose Interagency Task Force, some night resources to help protect our critical values at risk down in the Boss Ditch and KP 73 Road. With that being said, we took command of the fire yesterday. Resource draw was down. It was pretty tough out there. And again, with the state of Colorado, we get a bunch of resources in, and it really helped us out. As we worked on our strategy to work our critical values, we worked the fire around Division Alpha and Tango. A lot of our folks that night were moved into the structure group. So the structure group in there, we were able to come down, structure protection, work with those folks in there, and start prepping those and look for some defensive firing operations we had to. So when I talked about tactics, we were talking about direct attack, which is 1 foot in the black, which has its advantages, and then indirect attack, which is away from the fire, which also has advantages and disadvantages. Based on the extreme fire behavior that was exhibited during the red flag, a lot of it was indirect, and so that's why we pulled back to point protection around the structures and just evaluated any fire behavior down in the infrastructure in the Crystal Dam. And so operations yesterday, we kept on working the fire in Tango, Alpha, along these edges, looking at direct attack and indirect in the structure groups. Foxtrot, as we worked around there, a lot of that is a huge canyon. You guys are from this area, you know that. And because of safety, we can't put folks directly in that canyon. They have to stay on top or just monitor for a bit. So most of the fire spread, I've been calling this bookends the whole time. So on the west end and the east end, so we're trying to limit fire spread. The values are looking really good right now. However, none of the woods or anything yet with the weather. And so as the folks, most of the resources we're looking is along the front here, the southern front, along the infrastructure, and then Division Kilo is around the pump station diversion, and Foxtrot watching the canyon. As we continue with the fire today and for tomorrow's operations, we'll be doing the same thing, watching the fire spread southerly and trying to figure out a way to work safely with our resources up in Division Alpha and see what we're going to go in there. All the values at risk, we're talking, Stuart talked about the wilderness, we talked about sage grouse. There's a lot of other stuff other than structures out there that we're looking to protect as we work through the operations on the fire. I think that's going to be it. And then one other question that we worked through was imminent threat to Highway 50. I know we talked about that quite a bit, but we're looking really good for resources on the southern end of the fire. We still have some crazy wind event, but we're looking good right now. I say no imminent threat, but it's not out of the question. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Audrey Hughes. I am the Air Operations Branch Director for Rocky Mountain Team 3. I'm going to give you guys a quick overview of the aircraft that we've been utilizing on this incident. Starting with, we've had 2 Type 1 helicopters tanked assigned, along with 1 Type 2 helicopter with a bucket, and 1 Type 3 helicopter with a helitack crew. We've had several light fixed-wing firefighting aircraft over the incident that provide aerial assets for air attacks and lead planes. And we've also had several large air tankers along with very large air tankers ranging from DC-10s, BA-146s, and C-130s. And we've also had 2 scoopers, long-awaited scoopers. They finally arrived yesterday. Those are CL-415s. And I'm going to give a brief overview of some stats about the scoopers. So their total water capacity is 1,412 gallons of water. Scooping time, it takes them 12 seconds actually in the water source to get a full load of water. Water source requirements are approximately 4,300 feet long, 300 feet wide, and 10 feet deep. The minimum scooping distance is 1,180 feet, so basically about a mile they need of clearance in the water source. Their fuel cycle is 4 hours for firefighting missions, so they can have 4 hours on scene before they have to return for fuel. So this provides a very short turnaround from the water source to the fire. So they're an awesome firefighting tool. Is that the second slide? Yeah, we can go ahead and go to okay, thanks. Their cruising speed is 180 knots when loaded, and their ferry range empty with a full load of fuel is 1,500 miles, so they can get to where they need to be in a pretty short amount of time. That concludes the aircraft section.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Scott Sugg, and I'm one of the incident commanders here for Rocky Mountain Team 3. Right over here, I also have Jay Miller. He's one of the other incident commanders, so when we have the opportunity to visit in the gym, you can talk to either of us as well. You've heard a lot of everybody talking up here, talking about values at risk. You've been talking about the fire environment, which I know everybody being here, you know the drought that you're in. You've seen that you're smoked out. You got the Deer Creek fire where everybody was seeing what happened over there. You saw the fire behavior at night that happened here, just over the hill in Gateway right now, what's going on there. So I know you're very aware of what's going on. And the group that's out here on the ground right now is identifying those values. You have people representing the community that are in there and making sure that our team is aware of what's important to this community, what's important in the park, what's important to that. So when our operations chief was talking about those values at risk, it's to represent what's important to your community. And so trying to do that. And so we have like a strategic process that we were looking at. So just I'm going to cover that just real quick. And it's coming back, and we have the critical values at risk that come out. And then we try to combine that with modeling, like you have the weather, you saw the matrix and things like that. We also have fire projections that we use. We have fuels right now. When you are talking about right now, we're like in the 95th percentile or something like that, which is like the highest level of dryness for your fuel. So they're very receptive on that. And then we try to come up, and the operations folks come up with those tactics that Ops was talking about. But we want to look at the risk to responders, right? So we're sitting there like that. So here's the values, want to define that. We also want the responders to respond in a safe manner. So put them in the best manner to be safe, but also with the highest probability of success. Right. So we're trying to look at all that. And that's the tactics that our operations folks talk about and work towards. So trying to tie those three things together is very important to what we're doing. And we gather the information, like I said, from the agency administrators. You have county representatives. You have folks from your county commissioners, everybody else that are coming in there to help represent and point out those critical values at risk. And then we set our priorities. You heard Ops talk about life and property, right? You start talking about the downstream effect of some of these things is, we were talking about the dam. We're talking about the Gunnison Tunnel, from my understanding. If something damages to that diversion dam, it affects like 77,000 acres of ag land, which I think would have a huge impact on the community. So trying to look at those things, set those priorities up, come up with the tactics, allow the best probability for success for our responders in the safest manner is kind of what we were trying to tie into. So trying to tie all those together and to come back in and then address those things. So the only other thing is I'll tie up real quick is I'm going to tie into a little bit of what the sheriff talked about. He got up here and talked about and praised your community. I want to start with the responders that you had local on this thing in the beginning. They did a great job. They came out, started coming back in and actually giving that anchor point and trying to, what happened out in the park and those folks are in extreme conditions and coming in there. I want to thank the team that was here before us. There was a type 3 team that set us up for success. As you heard, we had a shadow day. We want to do that. The local community has been very supportive of everything that we've been experiencing at this point in time. And then just for an example, the church allowed us to have this here, to be able to bring the community in and share information with you all. So just the support, the sheriff echoed it in that, but you can see it just entering the community as well. And it's a tight community and doing that. So we just want to share information with you all, being transparent on what's going on out there. And, I encourage you to visit with the folks on the stage and the gym right after this. If there's any one-on-one questions, you can come in, have that. And there's avenues too that Dina will cover on, gaining information when we're outside of just being public meetings. So I just want to thank you for that and look forward to visiting with some of you.
So this concludes our presentation portion of our meeting. We will be posting this video on the South Rim Facebook page. Also follow us on IncyWeb, and we also have a YouTube page with this, the videos too. And over to the right, you probably noticed we had a American Sign Language translator, and that video will also be linked to those sites. So once again, your questions are very important to us. So we will be getting just our presentators and some of our local agencies and some of our other incident management team members just a little couple minutes so they can go to the back there where we have a gym. And like I said before, there are white signs so you can kind of figure out who would be best to answer any of your questions. We also, just a reminder, our update, we are trying to get every day it translated in Spanish and put on IncyWeb and Facebook page. So thank you so much for coming to our public meeting. And please unsilence your phones and please join us in the gym. Thank you very much.
Oh, really? Yeah, I don't know. I think I couldn't find you guys. And here's gonna like. Yeah, you know. What are people doing here? Want me to hold you up?
You know, who does the sound?
No, I haven't gotten there yet. Oh.